Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML. As you all know, this is the year of magical learning. We are actually almost halfway there. 150 is today's reflection number. And, this is about, I guess, how, the psychology of how humans and how we've been able to be using our ancestry inheritance to navigate the world. And we'll talk about more about it in the reflection, but I'll hand it over to Chris to make that happen.
You got it. Yeah. So this is a favorite book of yours. You actually recommended this one to me. So I'll let you do the description. The book is Influence, the Science and Practice by Robert Cialdini. So a good Italian name. I like it. You described it. You're the one that recommended this book. I know this one.
Robert Cialdini is a professor. He teaches psychology and marketing, in that area, about how people are using the psychologies and principles of psychology in business, in day-to-day life, and how people make decisions based on innate conditioning and behaviors. And this book essentially kind of like outlined the 5 or 6 different methods that people use to get other people to influence them. Hence the book Influence. And but for the interesting thing for me is that it gives me a glimpse into how people behaves and how we are basically a byproduct or the result of our genetics. We don't able to control how we react to certain things. For example, the first one is reciprocation, right? That is something we are compelled to do. If somebody gives us something, we want to give something back, right? And that's, for whatever reason, it's not taught. You are inherited from your parents. And for me, I'm kind of like intrigued by these kind of books because I want to kind of like learn about how decisions that I've made in the past really wasn't what I wanted. It's what I was inherited from either my parents, my grandparents, and my ancestries, millions of years ago, and my environment that forces me to kind of understand these, and understanding these can help me navigate, the world. And to me, this book, even though it may seem completely different from the other book, the Happiness Hypothesis, but to me, this book actually has commonalities in my mind to the other books. And this is why I recommend this book, because I kind of look past the concepts and the methodologies, try to get people to buy certain things. And this book may come across like that, but I don't take it as its book value. I took it as what I can derive from it. So that's why this book for me is a good book to get to understand yourself and understand other people. Because like you said before, the book about the 48 power laws versus the how to win friends, influence people. It is things that you have, whether you use it for good or evil, that's up to you. That's your choice.
This is really about just the inherent things that your elephant does and understanding this is what your elephant's going to do. Like, I mean, you really can't change it.
You can't change it. Because like I said, if the first rule is, reciprocation, right? It doesn't matter. If somebody gives me something, I'm compelled to want to pay them back. And a lot of times, depending on your level of empathy, you want to pay them back almost immediately. And if you don't pay them back, and the longer you hold it, the more at ease you feel. It's not your choice. You didn't choose to feel bad. It's just like, hey, I had a debt I need to repay. And even everyone among the people you call good versus the people who are evil, quote unquote, I don't want to make that judgment, but even in the mafia and the gangster, there's this concept of debt, right? You owe me, I owe you, and I call it I owe you, and all that. Regardless of where you come from, this kind of conditioning, it is embedded into your DNA. You either learn from it and use it for good, or use it for bad, or prevent other people from using on you.
Right.
Because sometimes I will give you a piece of candy and then I'll ask for a $100 donation.
Right.
And I'm more likely to give you the donation for what kind of charity you make up than if you say, hey, I don't owe you anything, And a lot of times people, especially in today's age, felt that society owes them something. No one owes you.
Right.
But that's the thing, is this is the conditioning that we have been given by our ancestors. So learning it, knowing it, is going to give you better tools and leverages to navigate your surrounding than not knowing it.
Yeah, I think it's the tools for your writer to help
definitely
steer these are tools for your writer to look for, because your elephant is going to operate.
Is your elephant's tendency, right? It has tendency. So how can you, if you know its tendency, you can be able to nudge him in one way or another, depending on where you want him to go.
Agreed. Yeah. So like, actually, this reminds me similarly to a book that I read called Biased, which was about racial bias, basically. We'll talk about that one down the road in the future. But really, you can't change this stuff. You're always going to have bias. When you meet people, you're going to initially have bias. It doesn't matter how hard you try to not have bias, you're going to have it. But if it's really important to you to put that as a focal point, you can put a lot of hard work and training with your writer, retraining your elephant to see and recognize reciprocity, or you can just not care. And like, I mean, that's your choice, you know.
It's minimized to a certain degree when you know and you see the I guess the concept being at play. You know, somebody can use it on you to, like you said, you know, let's say I'm gonna go and raise some kind of charity, whatever, you know, I don't know, a charity for, hey, you know, my Ferrari fund, right?
Like, we're gonna invest in a lot of people into their time and effort and energy to growing themselves and their own well-being, and we're not doing it for no reason. Like, we're doing it because we want our own, you know, community, and we want to work on projects that are meaningful to us, and we'll end up growing those businesses and things like that together. I mean, we're not doing it for nothing, but at the same time, we are doing it because we genuinely want to help, and we're coming at a place from care. If we give to other people, it's like Go Giver, right? You know, you give more than you take. The more that you give, and the more that you can expand your value.
The more you give, the more people will give to you. Reciprocation, right? It's the more people you give, the more people are going to give back. I mean, that's the way it is. You toss out one thing, people are going to toss you back one thing. We are compelled to do this. And the thing is, you know, the book outlines these 6 principles of psychologies where, and I think, like I say, these things are not like new. Like Robert Cialdini didn't do anything new, but I really appreciate that he like kind of lists these 5 to 6 principles, and I think these are very, very influential, very strong. To me, I do agree with the list, because for whatever reason, I can't, you know, get away from reciprocation. I can't get away from commitment and consistency. If you say, hey, true, you're an honest person, right? And you have integrity, right? I just cannot go against that.
You're ruining my reflection.
Yeah. Social proof, same thing, right? We are compelled to do these things, liking, authority, scarcity, right? It's one of the, I mean, these are, to me, it has a strong influence on us in terms of how we make decisions. Like I said, you know, it's not a moment of eureka where this is, hey, I've never seen this before. You probably have in many, many, many ways, in different books, different videos or teachings, and different sales coach. And this is not new, but the fact that he put them into a list and describe them and say, hey, you know, yeah, you have a bunch of these things all over the place. I'm just going to concise into a concise little, you know, 5, 6 principles. And to me, learning these things will help you understand your elephant better. You want to change your elephant, and this is going to give you the ability to nudge it more effectively.
I totally agree. I mean, it's powerful to know how your elephant operates, right? Like, and then be able to, if it really matters to you, then train yourself to fix it and to slowly nudge it over time, which actually segues really nicely into the reflection, which for me was write it down, right? So I started this one off with saying, if there's one piece of advice I could give to anybody, it's write it down. Like everything. I mean, I don't care what it is, but write it down. There's just something really, truly magical that happens when you take a thought out of your own head, you put it onto a piece of paper or keyboard or something like that, and you have to work through that thought, put it out there, you know, clear your mind around it, like work out all the kinks. And then when it's out there, like, you know, you're exposed, like it's been shared with other people. It is now, somebody might stumble upon that someday, whether you actively try to put it out there or you don't, like, you know, that's up to you and that's your choice. But either way, that thought is now out in the world. And that's when the transformation now starts to slowly happen over time. You keep putting those thoughts out there, and slowly but surely those thoughts become things, right? Like we learned with infinite possibilities. So, you know, like that's, in my opinion, how you discover an idea, a value, a purpose, all your stuff, right? Like you have to write it down. If there's one thing in particular that I would ever encourage anybody to do in life, it is whether you verbally write it or some way to document when you have a thought that you just want to share with yourself, get it out of your head and get it somewhere where you can record it and digest it and share it with other people, because there's just something magical about it coming out of here, and you have to clean it all up and get it out into the world so somebody else can understand it, right? This transformation just happens. The fun thing is, once you kind of publicly make that declaration and you share that with other people, and your words are now known to yourself and potentially known to other people, yeah, then it's on you to hold true to it. Like, I'm not, like you were saying about, if you commit to something, like, true's not a liar, true has integrity. Same thing with me. If I write it down and I put it out there, this is me doing it. Like, it's not like anybody's forcing me to say what I think about my values and what my values are. And for me and you to get together every single night to say, write it down. Like, this is me writing down to write it down, right? Like, this is me publicly declaring. So if someday in the future you see me, like, and you're like, hey, you still writing every day? I'm going to be like, fuck yes, I am. You know why? Because I publicly said, this is why it's so important for me to transform these thoughts into things and to do what we want to do into the future. So my declaration in this particular reflection was, it reminded me of that book of Sam Harris that we talked about before in the past, of lying. The only person you can truly lie. Lying has so many subjectivity, little subtle nuances, but for me, it's very simple. It's like, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And either you own that or you don't. And the only person you can really lie to is yourself, right? Like, I was telling one of my team members this today. I don't really give a shit if you tell me you're, integrity is one of your core values. If you write that down and you explain to the world what that is, and then, you go and do something completely different, like that's on you at that point in time. And you're the only one lying to yourself. I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't say you had to publicly declare that integrity was one of your core values. You did. You told yourself that, and you said this is important to you. Therefore, like, you are now committed to that. And if you don't, then you're just lying to yourself. And that's when, for me personally, as I was working through this reflection, this is actually when I decided to add integrity as one of my core values myself personally. So this was a new addition on this journey. I always like to think of Amelia kind of leading the little tracks for me to go follow and find. And I found this one along the way. It was like, look, if you're going to take the time and write this stuff down and share this stuff with the world, mean it. Yeah, right. Like,
what's the point if you don't mean it?
Exactly.
I mean, to me, like, it's a waste of energy. But that's me, because I hold integrity to be the second highest. It's hard for anything to be heavier than that value for me. That's why I wouldn't do it and lie about it. It's just not worth it for me.
It's talk about influence. Everything always goes back to influencing yourself, right? Like, if you're going to have values, the values are for yourself. If you're going to be a leader, you need to lead yourself first. If you're going to have influence yourself first. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it always goes back to you, in my personal opinion, of like, these principles. If you can't apply it to yourself and what you do every single day, then it's inapplicable completely in how you talk about it, discuss it with other people, and how you preach to other people. And this is why we hate people that, like, are, I don't know, like, who's that? What's that one dude that's a really tall guy? Tony Robbins or whatever. Like, the guy that says one thing and then he goes and does something, on the side, when he was sexually harassing like a bunch of people or whatever, or Tiger Woods, right? When you find out that they publicly claim that they are this way, and then when you find out that they actually live their life
that's the worst. I mean, to me, the thing is, it irks me. And, I'm sorry to kind of ruin your reflection, but it irks me so much because the value I hold so high. So when I see this kind of thing, it irks me the hell out of me that it's just like, for me, it's like just talking about a book about Patagonia, right? Patagonia.
Yeah. Right.
But right. Everybody loves that book. I mean, for some reason, I just can't chew it.
Because it doesn't logically make sense. That's not what he's doing, because he's making, like, he's smoking 5 cigarettes instead of smoking 20 cigarettes, but he's still smoking.
But that's my point. I mean, but a lot of people say, yeah, people smoking 20 cigarettes, he's only smoking 5, he's a hero. And for me, it's like, but wait a minute, you're still doing something bad.
Because if you did, you would just completely shut down the whole business, and you would just go find and do something else that really mattered to sustainability that you want to focus on. Not using an unsustainable thing that's slightly less unsustainable than other people's unsustainable things to then promote sustainability. It's like carbon offsets, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna go, use, carbon, like whatever I want to, but I'll just buy the offset, because it's fine, because I care about the environment.
People eating something unhealthy and then drinking a Diet Coke.
I'm ashamed to admit this, but health and sports and stuff has always been important for me in my life. But there was a time in my life when I was a smoker, like back in college and after college for a few years, I would go to the gym and I would go have a cigarette. Like, talk about insanity. Then I would go home and I would eat gluten-free, dairy-free, all this other stuff. But I would leave the gym and have a cigarette. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? That doesn't make any sense. Talk about the integrity thing, right? If I would have been writing this stuff down, I would have been like, what am I doing? I can't be a smoker. I should stop smoking right now, unless health isn't really what I care about. Once you publicly, who the hell is this? Nala. Do we have a meetup thing tonight?
Today's Wednesday.
It is.
Meetup on Thursday, right? Probably not. I mean, meetup on Thursday.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what this is. I have no idea who this is, so no. Did you see that thing that
No,
popped up?
no.
Oh,
You're the host. You see the request.
Somebody just popped into the meeting, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Some probably kind of troll.
Anyway, I said like Nala something. It was like a really weird long name. Anyway, back to the line of thinking. Consider this publicly stated at this point in time. Integrity is a core value of mine. So if you don't ever, for anybody that's following along with this journey, or for myself, if I ever find myself slipping and not adhering to the things that I say are really important to me, please, for the love of God, call me out and tell me and remind me of this declaration that I wrote it down, because that's the power of writing, right? Like, because I mean, I want you to do this. I put this out here for a reason, to remind myself first and foremost, but to help other people, to encourage them to remind me. That's why I post these things on LinkedIn. Nobody cares. Like, I don't even care about them. Like on posting them on LinkedIn, I'm not trying to get people to view this. I did it because I wanted to hold myself accountable to this journey, to say like, look, this is a way for me to hold myself accountable, to say like, I'm going to post this stuff every single time that I write these things and go down this road. And like, it might seem weird to people, but like, why do I think my values are weird? Sharing my values with the world is weird. That's weird. You know, if I think that that's weird, right? So anyway, long story short, you know, I made a promise to my daughter to always live for two, and I will never intend to break that promise. It is written down, stone cold, lead pipe locked, you know, so consider it publicly shared and write it down. Like that's it. So that's the reflection. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's great that we write it down. And like you said, when you declare something publicly, you have this urge to keep it, because the law says, you know, one of the law of being consistent, right? Commitment and consistency. That's number two. We are strongly compelled to play the part that we have claimed or was given. So either you claim a part like, hey, I'm honest, right? If you claim you're honest, then it is much easier to be honest than to be dishonest. You can be dishonest, but it takes more effort.
Yeah, it does actually.
More emotional toll to be dishonest. Just like we said, you declare yourself to be this or that. Back in the previous episode, we talking about, you know, you want to be a writer, right? So you want to claim that role. Once you claim that role, you're going to think like one. You're going to be, hey, what a writer does, I'll do those. You know, whatever the writer does, you do, just because you claim that and you want to make sure that it's consistent with that image or that role that you take on. And so I think the reflection you have right now, right here, is really, really crucial. It's just because when you declare something, it doesn't matter if anyone's going to call you out on it or not.
You will.
Compare yourself.
Right.
It's not even you. It's like your elephant is compelled to do that. And so that's one thing I want to point out. I don't want to talk about like, you know, these concept about the book is great. And the book, I think, is intended for like marketing professionals and how salespeople and how to use them. But for me, what I take out from this book is, you know, let's talk about the art of running downhill, right? To me, this book applies to that, right? You're talking about having an elephant and his tendency to do, you know, this and that and other. You think about it, when you want to go downhill, for example, just like what you did, you publicly declare something. It just makes it easy for you to keep, because your tendency has already gone down that path. You are going with the flow of the river, right? So you're just basically using a tailwind. You're just using the wind or the current. Bottom line is the art of run down here is you structure your tendency in a way that you are leveraging that to accomplish something. You want to tack on the integrity, right? All you have to do is write it down for one and declare it. So the first thing is when you declare it, this concept kicks in and say, well, I got to live up to it. And it doesn't matter if anyone calls you out, you still do it because that's what you're conditioned for.
Your elephant will just do it. Like you're running downhill. Like downhill running is, like you said, your elephant.
Because that's what they're good at. They've been trained for so long. Right. That's what they're good at. And so you basically say, you know, if the river current going down that way, all I have to do is put on get a boat and just go down. I don't really need to have a paddle. Same thing with a boat and the wind. If your wind going your way, well, you put up a sail and just use the tailwind to propel you forward to whatever. You don't even have to paddle. That's the beauty of these concepts that we learn in these books today. Because we talk about the art of run down here, right? That's one thing that's something I talk over and over again. And another thing I talk about is about, how our elephant can't understand English. It doesn't understand the language that we know. It can only understand action. So when you actually perform an action, the writing down something, the declaring something, you are telling your elephant that's a good thing. When you do that often enough, your elephant understands it. Elephant can only understand action. So that I think for the sake of having to write down, actually give you a lot of forward momentum in terms of getting to where you need to be. Because when you write down, your elephant's gonna say, well, that's what he wanted. Therefore, when he keep doing it, that means that he wanted more. It means that I am doing the right thing. I'm doing things that he wants to do. So the action is going to confirm to the elephant what it is that you want him to do. And so that to me is one of the secret that I think, in my opinion, my hypothesis anyway, is the only way to talk to your elephant, to talk to your subconscious, to build that habits. Yeah. And having the ability to train an elephant, but using, you talk about the elephant whisper, right? We're talking about how do you whisper to your elephant? Just like, for example, how do you train a dog, for example, right? How do you train a dog? Like, because you, for example, you know how to train a dog.
I'm sure that it would probably be get to know the dog really, really well and make sure that you.
I'm talking about the natural instinct of a dog. For example, you put a dog in a place where he sleeps, he doesn't pee there unless he has to.
Right.
You don't have to teach him that.
Right.
Would you agree?
No, I mean.
So a dog, you put him in a kennel, right? And you put it where he sleeps. He is gonna poop and pee far away from where he sleeps. That's just innate to him.
Right, unless it absolutely has to, yeah.
We do too. I mean, for example, if you sleep on a bed, right, you're not gonna poop there unless you have to, because you can't get out or whatever. Right. But the point is, to train a dog, to train a puppy, you put it in a cage, and you leave, you let where he sleeps. That's why he's gonna try to hold it until you let him out to go to another place. Basically, we have instincts as well, and we just need to leverage your instincts to help the elephant understand what we want him to do. Pick up a new habit, become more peaceful with yourself, become more confident, be an entrepreneur, be a risk taker, whatever it is, right? You can use your instincts, these concepts of psychology that Robert Cialdini have listed. And these are powerful. I mean, like I say, reciprocation is, to me, is number one, just because I don't know if I can do, if you give me something, I'm feel compelled to give back. That's how Christmas works.
Right. Christmas makes no sense. Like, why do we spend so much money on
gifts? We give money, but that's the thing is, I give you something, you give me something, because I just feel compelled to do it. So that's what I'm saying is, this book kind of like let out the how-to of running, how-to in the art of running downhill. If that makes sense.
How to train your elephant.
How to train an elephant, how to become an elephant whisperer. This is so I'm saying is, what I take away from this book isn't the marketing psychologies or the business psychologies and the principle and all that. What I'm taking out from this is what I see as a common thread among all the books that I've read thus far. And that's why I think this book actually gives us some of the, I guess, like the tangible tactics that you can do to implement the lessons that you learn. Like you said, we keep saying the art of running downhill, but what the hell? How do you use it? How do you make it? Right. This is to actually go into the really needy details of how do you do it, right? You find your instinct, just like I told you. You become a dog whisperer. His instinct. He wants to be fed. He wants his favorite treat. He don't want to pee in his bed, right? Therefore, you use that to give him the ability to say, "Hey, don't pee here, pee there." So when you don't want him to pee, you corner him into that little space. And then when you want him to pee, take him out to a space where he has no other, I guess, bias or anchor. Then he can pee there, and then you let him pee, and then you put back in, so that he knows that in the space that you put him, he's not supposed to be pee there, and you put him out to the grass, whatever he needs to pee there, and eventually he'll learn. So in a week, 2 weeks, whatever the time frame, he'll learn. And so that's become a dog whisperer, an elephant whisperer, and hence your elephant whisperer. That's the same thing. Is use this instinct use the art of run downhill to get to the nudge that you need to get your elephant where it needs to be.
Agreed. I would flip that around too, to say, when you have something inside of your head you feel like is you, and you're doing something different on the outside, whether or not you've publicly declared it or not, it's irrelevant. I'm totally guessing here because I'm not a part of the LGBTQ community, but I'm assuming that it's probably a pretty horrible thing to feel like I'm one way inside of my mind, but I'm acting another way on the outside. So it probably feels like you're pushing an elephant up a hill when you're doing that, right? Like, and it's really probably hard to push an elephant up a hill. And that's probably why it feels so relieving.
It's very taxing. It's taxing to go against the wind. It's very taxing to go up the river. It's very taxing to go up the hill. That's why we're talking about the art of running downhill, the art of, you have to reorient your environment so that you're going down the river and not go up the stream. Don't go against the river. Don't go against the current.
Right.
And that's the point. But the thing is, this is what we say as a aphorism, but at the same time, it is hard to implement. So that's why
I don't think it's hard to implement. This is a practical way for you to implement.
What I'm saying is people don't know that until we say, hey, Robert Cialdini, he wrote a book about psychology, but you can actually use it to train yourself to become your elephant whisperer.
Yeah.
I'm basically borrowing Robert Cialdini's word to explain to you, how do you run downhill? How do you run downhill and go with the current, with the wind?
Yeah, for sure. I think the concept of leading people and being a leader in general, or influencing anyone, creating a business or whatever, anything that you want to do, if you don't do it for yourself, then no one else is going to give a shit. I truly believe that. If you don't lead yourself, no one else is going to want to follow you. Like, if you don't know how to influence yourself, no one else, you're not going to be able to figure out how to influence anybody else. If you don't know how to, if you're not going to start a business that is relevant for you, no one else is going to believe your story about why you started this thing or wanted to do it in the first place, because you want to solve your own damn problem.
Yeah, if you can't convince yourself, how can you convince somebody with less information? It's just not possible.
It's a fool's errand at that point, actually. And it's really funny because I'm seeing this every day as I'm meeting my new team members, and I'm going through our initial one-on-ones, and I'm asking them to prepare lists of their initial values they wanted to share with me. And bless their hearts, like, a lot of them had some great reasons and why behind it, but a lot of them also couldn't really eloquently explain what that meant to them. And that was my challenge.
You and I in the beginning, if you ask me what was my values, like,
I don't know. I mean, I like this.
I said no idea. I've never thought about it. So what I probably give you is a value that I think people out there want. Say, hey, I want to be hardworking. I want to be inspiring. I want to be a leader, or whatever. It's none of those things. I don't give a shit right now, right? Because truly, those are not my values. That's what I thought people wanted in value. So if you ask me before this journey started, I would be in the same place they were now. So like I said,
I was too. I'm saying that was what I challenged them back, was like, look, if you can't eloquently explain to me very crystal clear what this means to you and why this is important to you and why you were saying you want to do this, then it's irrelevant if I understand it or not, because if you don't understand it, then I can't understand it. Like, if you can't be impeccable with your words, right? If you can't have a crystal clear visualization in your head of what it means to have integrity, or what it means to have balance, or what it means to play, or what it means to challenge yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't know what that means in your own head and your own mind, then no one else will ever know it. No one really cares, because values are impersonal anyway, right? So like that's why you write it down. You got to get these things out of your head. You got to work it out yourself. And you work it out through writing, and you work it out, and you get your elephant to start walking downhill, where he's like, oh, the elephant.
You have to work it out through. I mean, writing is an action. So it could be other stuff. It could be writing, I don't know, carving in the stone, dancing. I don't care. I don't care what you want to do, as long as you
record a podcast. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Actions, right? And writing is an action. And for you, writing is your action. For other people it could be different. But the point is, your elephant can only understand actions.
Yes. Exactly. That is how you start to walk down the hill. Like, because your elephant just walks. Like, it can either walk up a hill, or it can walk on a flat plane, or it can walk down a hill, right? But to your point, the next step the elephant takes, is it a downhill step or is it an uphill step? If it's a downhill step, it's because you told it to take a step, because you did some sort of an action, took a step that way, right? It's only going to go as slow as it wants to go, but you can maybe pick the terrain of up, down, flat, or whatever.
Obviously, when he goes uphill, it's going to be much slower. That's why we want to have the art of running downhill, right?
And it hurts. It's
That's
tiring.
The art of running downhill is, there's an art to running downhill, because not everything that you encounter in life will be smooth sailing. It just isn't. But the point is, once you understand your tendency, you understand your elephant, you can nudge it in direction. Like I said, if you have a sailboat, right, and the wind is going against you, right, you need to take down the sail so it doesn't push you the wrong directions and push you farther away from where you want to be.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. This is one of the concepts, is the art of doing it, right? If the wind is going in your direction, well, put up the sail so that it carries you. But you can't just say the sail is going to stay put. It doesn't change. When the wind carries it, it goes wherever it carries, right? You will never get to where you want to go. You'll never get to the destination that you want to go, because the winds are unpredictable. It could blow, the opposite direction. It could be you're blown to the side, to the east, to the west, or it doesn't blow. So the thing is, how do you get to the destination if you don't utilize the timing, when to put up the sail, when to put down the sail, when to row, when not to row, all these things. These things are part of the how to in the art of running downhill, because is what you need to do to get to where you want. Because if an elephant continues to do whatever he needs to do, there's no telling where you end up. Because if you're going uphill, right, it's going to be harder and it's going to be slower. This is physics, right?
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying, is when you have a tendency, it's so much easier to piggyback on that tendency. Just like you said, if you declare something, that it's easy for you to keep that promise, because you have a tendency to keep the commitment and consistency.
Right.
Right?
Who likes to lie? Nobody likes to lie. Like nobody wants to feel that internal conflict of saying, feeling.
No,
one thing
I think some people like to lie. It just
only if they say
if your value is
if one of your values is lying and you lie all the time, are you even a liar?
Well, yeah.
No, because you're honoring you're saying true to what you say you're going to do. So if you say I'm going to lie all the time and you lie all the time, you're a liar.
You're lying to other people, but you're honest to yourself.
Right.
Depending on what that perspective of the word is. If the word is, say, hey, are you a liar in the eyes of the people? Yes, you're a liar. But are you a liar from your perspective?
Then you're not a liar. I mean, that's the only person I really think you can lie to. I mean, because if you say that lying is one of your core values and you do it, then good for you.
But at the same time, you get to the point where if you're a liar, you have to lie to yourself to actually become a real liar.
I think
that's another can of worms that is beyond the scope of this reflection. And for me, today's reflection and today's book, and the reason why I love this book is because of the businessy aspect of it. And it's not useful. It's just like, for me as a non-business person, I'm a tech guy. I'm more of a nerd, for lack of a better word. So it's not that I don't appreciate the business implications of these rules and principles. I'm just saying is from what I see, I am able to see more on the other side of put into the science of how to use these concepts to train your elephant. And I hope people understand what we mean when we say training your elephant. And if you don't, go back to a few episodes, we're talking about elephant whisperer. Go look at that episode and understand what we mean by the rider and elephant. Your rider, it's not literally the elephant.
Right. I feel like we should almost write a book called How to Train Your Elephant.
This is actually one of my quests. It's not to write a book, but to understand how to influence your subconscious.
Right. But I'm saying we should, you can, if you know that you can influence your subconscious by writing it down, what we want to influence our subconscious with, we can be training our elephants, and we could write a book called How to Train Your Elephant, which is basically what we've been doing anyway with the Year of Magical Learning.
Yeah, it is.
We've been training our elephants, right.
It is.
I mean, so we could just call this How to Train Your Elephant, because this is kind of what it is, It's interesting though. It's fun.
Yeah, it's like How to Train Your Dragon.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How to Train Your Dragon. But what is that about anyway? I've never seen that actually.
You watch that How to Train Your Dragon?
I've never seen it. I know the title. Oh, it's a cartoon. Okay. So I don't know what it's about at all. That was what I was thinking of, how to train your elephant, but it could be How to Train Your Dragon,
I think elephant is more fitting based on Jonathan Haidt's.
Oh, no, I know. I meant like playing off of the How to Train Your Dragon, we'll call it How to Train Your Elephant. I'm saying don't call it How to Train Your Dragon. I'm saying call it How to Train Your Elephant. All right, awesome, man. So that was a good one. The question we can leave with everyone is, what personal commitments have you made publicly and shared with the world? Because if you haven't, then Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have something that's you're not doing what you think, inside feels. You feel that the inside and how you want to live your life. So share it and don't be afraid.
No one's gonna call you out on it, right?
Right.
No one's gonna say, hey, you say you're this, now you're not. But that's the thing is, this is an instinct that you have, and you just use it as a leverage to get further in whatever goals or aspiration that you want to have, right? It's gonna give you a nudge, just like the wind behind the sail. If you have the sail, the wind, right? Put up the sail. That's what I'm saying is these things are going to give you the leap in terms of the achievement that you have, because the elephant has already been trained in that aspect. You need to add the cherry on top.
Well, it's fun to learn how to train your elephant, and maybe we'll write another book.
I'm sure there will be more. And in these books, that when they talk about something, we can see some common thread with other books, and we just distill it in a way that we understand how we use it. It doesn't have to be like, hey, the way the book is written to say, hey, use it in this way. Use it to write advertising or to run a business, a marketing campaign, or to sell more products and how to price certain things in a certain way. Well,
use it however you want
that's
to.
one, literally. How do I train my own subconsciousness to make myself be able to keep my commitment better and more, easier than if I go against the grain.
This goes back to what I was trying to say. Maybe I wasn't saying it. You keep saying this applies to business. Like, in my personal opinion, business just reflects our elephants anyway. It was built and it developed the way that it developed because it's how our elephants worked anyway. So it just slowly became what it became. I mean, you look at an office and you think of all the ways that we influence each other. Social proof. Why do I give a shit about how many calls or activity I had? Because it's on a public board and everybody's looking at it. I want to make sure that I'm doing things that are similar to other people and doing the right actions. Liking, the propensity to agree with other people with what we like. We all want to be agreeable at work. So if somebody says, let's go run our building off our business off of a cliff, and we're all like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Like, yeah, you're right. Let's do it. Let's all go jump off the cliff, or authority. Like, I mean, we say yes to our bosses when they're like, guys, the most important thing in this world is closing business in Q3. Like, if you don't do anything else but close business in Q3, you will be, you know what I mean? And we're all like, yeah, this is what charge, you know what I mean?
You tell yourself that's what he's the boss. So you listen. So you take the advice without questioning, is it valid? That's why, I mean, the thing is, a lot of these things is how we navigate primal life in the past, right?
Right.
These things are shortcuts. Basically, they are mnemonics for us to say, hey, this one likely, this one unlikely, right? This one likely danger, this one unlikely danger, right? You want to be able to make quick decisions, right? Because if something is rustling in a bush, right, you have less than half a second to figure out what you want to do, right? Should I run? No. I should stay and fight. No, I should not be dead, right? By that time, what you decide then, that's why you can't really process these things. You have to say, well, it's a cue. There's a cue. I pick it up, you run, because chances are something rustling in the bush is going to be more powerful than me. Therefore, I don't need to fight, right? That's what I'm saying is you always run. Like 90% of the time you will run. Only when you have a death wish or you have some ability, right? Or you have some armor, it gives you confidence, and you say, I'm going to stay my ground, and I'm going to, pike this animal or whatever this is rustling,
Matrix, right? Yeah, use the Matrix on people where you're like, somehow bending time and space because you just have all these Jedi powers or whatever around you, and you're just that confident. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. That we'll do in the future. For our future, I have a reflection that's about this one in particular because it was about haunted houses and roller coasters, right? Like, I tried to train my elephant on a haunted house and a roller coaster down in Florida, and it didn't work. I was like, because you don't have time to think. You're just like, I was trying going into it. I was like, control your heart rate, control your breathing. Let's try to do this. And then, didn't work.
But the thing is, you can train it because that's what people call desensitizing. Because basically, this is go back to my theory again. It's like your elephant can only understand actions. If you keep doing it, eventually it's going to get desensitized. I don't know how long it would take you to get over the thing completely, but any of these conditioning can be retrained because, like I said, you're talking about having 1 million years of conditioning. To undo them might take some time, right? That's unfair to say. That's what I'm saying is I truly believe if you can retrain You can retrain an elephant, you can retrain a dog, you can retrain a horse, you can retrain whoever you want. Retrain your brain. It's the same thing. Is your subconscious can only understand the language of actions. If you can do that consistently and you can give it a way to create a mental state that say, hey, this kind of emotion is what I want, then eventually it's going to accept it.
Eventually you could like roller coasters or skydiving or whatever, things that are inherently designed to fuck with your elephant, but you can
a certain paradigm. And in order to change the map, you have to kind of nudge it a little bit, little by little. You can't just say, hey, you give a new map and you say, oh yeah, I know where to go. Say, I have no idea. And so that's what I'm saying is, the important thing is, you understand your instinct, your conditioning over the million years, and eventually you get to the point where if you don't want them to be happening to you, you can retrain that portion. Right. If you don't want it. If you say, hey, I don't like to be thinking about like the infinite mind, right? Infinite game, for example. It's the abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. We have a scarcity mindset, but based on what we read so far throughout our journey, it doesn't have to be scarcity. It can be abundant, right?
There's always another opportunity for something.
We have slowly taken the number 6 principle out of our mindset because we say, well, the thing is 1 + 1 isn't going to be 2. It's going to be 11, 100, whatever, and 1 - 1 isn't 0.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, the more that I'm just reading through this list and I'm thinking about the way that my job works and sales works in general, reciprocity, like you get a paycheck and you feel like you got to keep working there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do this, but they give you a paycheck. And you're like,
that's number 1 to me.
I know
it's a very strong, very strong principle in psychology that it's very hard to retrain. That's why it's number 1. Scarcity is actually easier, and authority is actually easier too. The number 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's hard. Even for me, knowing that I've spent the last how many years kind of marinating this thought of how we program my subconsciousness. And even then, right? Because right now for me is as far as authority is concerned, I question everything. And I think for whatever reason, I have a propensity for questioning authority, even when I was younger. It's like, I don't care who you are. Well, you got to give me an explanation. Give me a reason why, whatever it is, or whatever you say, right? Tell me why. I don't take the authority at face value. And for whatever reason, whether it's a curse or a blessing, whatever you want to call it, I question authority all the time. And to me, number 5 and number 6, I can overcome. The top 4, I'm still working on it. Like, for example, liking, right? I'm working on the liking. I don't really care if you like me. That's why, I don't care. Say, hey, true, you have you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, whatever. I would say, okay. I don't really care. It's a mind training. But I've been training my mind to do that.
You got to like yourself. This goes back to everything. You got to like yourself first, before anybody else is going to like you. You know what I mean? It goes back to you got to be able to influence yourself. That is the bottom line. It's literally, in my opinion, that's it. If you want to be a leader of yourself, you have to like yourself first. If you want other people to like you, if you don't, then who cares? But either way, if you like yourself, then you won't care if other people like you anyway. So it's irrelevant.
But that's why a lot of times people say, the liking, for example, liking is actually pretty powerful as well, because you see how people crucify Jesus Christ, because people say crucify him, and everybody say crucify him. It doesn't matter what he does, right? That's the thing. Is for me, it's liking isn't something that I follow very strictly, just because if I disagree, I'll tell you to disagree. I don't really care.
Right.
All right. If I don't understand, I say I don't understand.
But you're staying true to yourself, at that point in time. So that goes back to integrity, which people. That's what I was saying. Is if you like yourself and you stay true to yourself, other people will just naturally like you. The ironic part of that, of what you just said, is people will like you more if you are, don't care about.
Conditioning of number 4 is you want to be agreeable to other people. Say, hey, let's say Chris said, hey, I like How to Train Your Dragon movie. So, oh yeah, I like it too. It's pretty good. Some people say, yeah, I don't like it. It's bad. People and a great example would be the Patagonia book.
Right.
Every fucking body is loving that book. And I say, what's the deal with this book? And I say, look, this guy give me the creeps. Like, it irks me. Right? And then people say, oh, yeah, okay. But everybody, you remember, right? Everybody loves the book. It's like, it's a great book, because there were a lot of reviews or whatever. I don't know. I just don't see it. But that's the thing, is see so many people get on the bandwagon because they are being conditioned to say, I gotta be agreed. Maybe I'm missing something, right? So
on the surface, it looks like he's doing a good thing. We're just saying that, like, you haven't dug deeper. There's a lot more.
Like,
to
hey,
it. And to be fair,
I just killed only 2. I didn't kill all 5. Therefore, I'm the savior of the 3 dogs. So to me, that's what I see. I don't see this guy as a saving 3 dogs.
People could be looking at this entire journey of ours and to say, well, Chris, you still work at a company and you've been talking about Clubany for 2.5 years of what you guys want to do. Like, why haven't you just done it yet? So, I mean, it all goes all ways. Like, I don't care as long as Yvon Chouinard, he likes himself and whatever. Anyway, we got to put a pin on this one because I got to go to this tennis match, actually. So that was a fun conversation. I feel like we need to dig back into this one a little bit, potentially. So
that's why I was surprised you only have one reflection for this book, because
I feel like it's
like I said, is what I'm looking isn't on the surface.
Right. Yeah. No, I think the more that we're talking is the more ideas that's popping in my head around this. So I like it. I mean, there could be.
It's not book value.
Right.
It's the intrinsic value of the lessons of the book that it brings out. That's why I recommend this book, not for the book value. And I'm sure it has book value for the right kind of people. But for me, it's intrinsic value that was intrigued me.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, that was a fun conversation, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to write it down. All right.
Good night.